This is College Algebra 6.3b as in Bravo on page 547 dealing with hyperbolas. This is example 2. And what we're doing is we're getting the equation here, and what they're asking us to do is find the vertices, the foci, and the asymptotes, and then graph the hyperbola. Okay, so we're going to do a couple different things. One of them may be different than what the book does, but one of the first things that we have to do is get rid of the 144. In both of the equations for a hyperbola, that number after the equal sign where the 144 is must be 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide each part of the hyperbola by 144. Okay? So that will turn this into a 1. It will also turn this into x squared over 16 minus y squared over 9 when you break those down or when you reduce those fractions, and it gives you that. Now again, the equation for this is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. So keeping that in mind, that this is the equation we want, we need to find a and b. Well, a squared is 16, so a is 4. B squared is 9, so b is actually 3. So we could rewrite this as that right there as our equation. So the hyperbola has a horizontal transverse axis, and we know that because this number right here, or the x right here, is telling me that I've got a horizontal transverse axis. So when the x is first, it means that our transverse axis goes this way. If our y was first, our transverse axis would go that way. Okay? So that's telling me where my transverse axis is, and then I can look and see what my vertices have to be. Well, if I've got a transverse axis that's horizontal, I'm going to use the top equations at the top of page 546 on equations of a hyperbola with the center at the origin. So I can use all of the information there to try to get my A, B's, and C's in order for me to get what they want in the problem, the vertices, the foci, and the asymptotes. So to get the vertices, I need my A values. To get the foci, I need my C values, and to get the asymptotes, I need my A's and my B values. So let's go ahead and do that. So I know that my vertices are going to be negative 4 and 0, or negative 4 and 4, because see, right here, that's my A. Okay, my A's and B's do not move. This number will always be your A. So my A is 4. So A is 4. My B then will be 3. And then I have to find my C. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared, and that'll be 25. So my C is going to be 5. So I've got those 3 bits of information that will help me to be able to find everything I'm looking for. So I already said that my vertices are going to be A0 and negative A0, or 4 and negative 4. So that's my vertices. Okay, let's go ahead and make a box here so we have those there. My foci are going to be negative 5, 0, and 5, 0. Okay. And that comes from my C right there. And then I have to find my negative B over A and my positive B over A. So I've got 3/4. Alright, so let me show you a little trick here that will help you as you're graphing these asymptotes. And don't really see them doing it in the book, so maybe they don't normally teach this method, but I'm going to do it anyway. So let's get this out of, well, let's get some of this other stuff out of the way here. So we'll move that over here, and let's just keep this information here. Alright, so we have our A, B, and C, and that's all we need as far as graphing this is concerned. So let's go ahead and draw a graph here. And we know, again, our foci has to do with the letter C. And if you look at the top of page 546, it gives you the different formulas there. And we know that the formula we're going to use is the one for transverse axis that's horizontal, because that's what we ended up with our answer. And whenever x is the first term, we know that my transverse axis is going to be horizontal here. If this were a y squared, it would go up and down like this. But okay, so we're horizontal, and my A, which is my transverse axis, is going to be a length from the origin or from the center of 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and also 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. I also know that my B, which is my conjugate axis, is 3. So my conjugate axis goes the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So given that bit of information, I've got my two vertices, and I also have my B, which is my conjugate axis, and we'll talk about what we're going to do with that in just a minute. But I also know that my foci is at negative C, 0, negative 5, 0, and at 5, 0. So let's go ahead and put those on there in blue. They're going to be there, in there. Alright, now what I want you to do here is you can find the asymptote by doing y equals negative b over ax and y equals b over ax. You can do that, but I'm going to show you another way to do it that I think is a lot easier. Alright, what I need to do is look at the length of A, and remember A is my transverse axis, and it says A is 4. So I'm going to go over again to 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a vertical line through 4. And a vertical line through the negative 4. So those are my places where 4 is. That's my vertex. That's this number right here. A. A is the distance from the center to the vertex on both sides of the center. Okay, so I drew a vertical line there. Now I'm going to look at my B, and that's 3. And that ends up being the conjugate axis. So I'm going to go up 3 on the y-axis and down 3. Okay, so I've got that nifty little rectangle there. And what I'm going to do now with blue is I'm going to draw a diagonal. And the diagonal will always, now my drawing may not be so pretty, always go through opposite corners and through the origin. I don't see that happening perfect here because of my drawing, but pretty close. And there we go. Now those two blue lines are my asymptotes. And since I know that my focus is here and my vertex is here, I know, and I'll draw this in white, I know that my hyperbola is going to do that. It's also going to do that. And there I've drawn it. So I didn't have to do anything weird in order to draw the asymptotes, but once I have the asymptote and the vertex, the vertices, I can draw in white my hyperbola pretty painlessly. So that is how you draw the graph of a hyperbola.